And good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's edition of the Othor Cain Show. Glad to have you here. We are excited that you're here. We are excited to relaunch this show with you tonight. Very excited about that. We're going to get all of the technical things kind of worked out as we go along. So just bear with us. Lots of great stuff to talk about. But like I said, we're gonna get all the kinks worked out. But we've got lots of great stuff to talk about tonight. Coming up a little later on the broadcast, we'll have an opportunity to talk to Marcus Cheatham. He is seeking the office of City Council Ward 2. That election is Tuesday of next week. So if you are in Ward 2, right? If you are in Ward 2, you have an opportunity to vote on next Tuesday. And so we'll talk to Marcus Cheatham coming up. First, though, we want to get to the big story of the day, the big story of the day, right? I know y'all know y'all ready for it. So I'm going back and forth between computer and phone. So if I look like I'm looking away, you'll understand. So we want to get to the big story of the day, right? There are indictments just swirling around in Jackson and in Hinds County, right? Lots of indictments. There was one that was unsealed today that brings to total 2 so far. And I kind of want to walk through the process of deduction, because in the indictment papers today that were unsealed, talked about unindicted co-conspirator A, unindicted co-conspirator B, unindicted co-conspirator C, and agents 1 and 2, right? And so by reasonable deduction, we can conclude that the numbers 1 and 2 represent FBI agents, right? That's reasonable, easy deduction. We could easily say that 1 and 2 represents FBI agents. And let me tell you something. So I spent a little time, kind of combing through the papers, trying to understand the language, right? Trying to understand the language, combing through the papers, really wanting to understand exactly what was going on. Lots to digest. Now make sure if you have comments, questions, feel free to share them with us, and we'll try to get them on. So let's backtrack as we delve into this story. Let's backtrack a little bit. So at the heart, let's talk about the heart of the story. At its core, at the heart of this, hey, Dr. J, I see you there. So at the heart of this is a convention center hotel. Thank you, Penny. Just left an event at Tougaloo College. We inducted new members of C100 at Tougaloo College. But at any rate, at its very core, let's go there, right? Let's go there. Thank you, Brother Pope. At its very core is a convention center hotel. Now, I think most of you remember when we worked, and I say we collectively as a city, we worked tirelessly to get a convention center done with bonds, we took votes. I think Harvey Johnson was mayor. So we did all of those things. We collectively, as a people, as a city, we did all of those things to get a convention center. Because I think at the heart of that, we realized that Jackson is at the crossroads where all these major events and major shows were going, like concerts and conferences. We recognize that Jackson was at the crossroads of all of that, with the interstate, right? With 220, with 20, with 55, right? We were at the crossroads. And so I think that we worked collectively as a city because we wanted a convention center, right? We wanted a convention center, right? We weren't getting the big shows. We weren't getting the conferences. We weren't getting the conventions because we had nowhere to house them. And so as a city, we rallied together to work on that and to make that happen. Well, if you go to any major city, if you go to any major city, and I'm just giving you a little background before we delve into, the juicy stuff, because I know that's what y'all want to talk about. But if you go to any major city, most convention centers have a hotel attached, right? Most convention centers have a hotel attached. A lot of cities, they have skywalks, so you can walk from the convention center to your hotel. Or if the hotel isn't attached to the convention center, the hotel is nearby, right? And in great cities and major cities, they're able to track all of these big shows and these major events, right? Because you have a convention center and you have a hotel, right? Yeah. So you're able to do all of that. Well, lo and behold, our convention center, even in its initial development, was not developed out fully according to plan because we ran out of money, right? And so they scaled back a little bit. That's why now when you go to our convention center, it's so flat. It's not a very good place for concert because it's so flat. If one person stand up, it's over for everybody. So it's not a really good place for big, concerts. Anyway, that's the history of how our convention center came to be. Fast forward, developer after developer, RFPs after RFPs, promises after promises to get a convention center hotel. Didn't happen, hasn't happened. Don't know that it is going to happen, not in its, current phase, right? Not in its current state, not in its current phase. So years go by, right? Ring clean slap out of Buddy Greg. Years go by, people try again, administration changes, people try again, still nothing, right? Still nothing, still no hotel, right? An old ragged parking lot in front of the convention center, right? Old ragged parking lot, even some dilapidated buildings. So years go by, still nothing, right? Right. Worried about a hotel, but won't even cut the grass. That part, right? So years go by, still absolutely nothing. Still nothing, man. Still absolutely nothing. Y'all, my barber is on, so I had to kind of see if my head was all right, because he'll talk bad about me. Anyway, still nothing. Additional years go by. And so let's just fast forward to where we are now. Raggedy parking lot at that. So let's just fast forward to where we are now. If you have been keeping up, here's where we are. If you've been keeping up, right? Here's where we are. Some FBI agents posed as developers. They come to town, right? They come to town under the premise that they are developers and that they were interested in doing work in the city of Jackson and that they, wanted to do a hotel. So I'll tell you, they played the cards perfectly in my mind. They played the cards perfectly in my mind. So they reach out to a firm, and I'll say the firm. I'll say the firm. I don't have a problem saying the firm. So they reach out to this firm, Cornerstone. Okay, so they reach out to this firm, Cornerstone, and submitted their work. We're these developers. We want to do some work, in Jackson, and here we are. Let me give you my portfolio, and let's see if we can do some business. And Cornerstone, being the amazing company, that they are, great company, do work all across the country, offices in Mississippi, offices in DC, do work across the country, do amazing work, phenomenal work. They're lobbyists and folk use them all the time, right? They're lobbyists, folk use them all the time. And so they submitted their portfolio to Cornerstone. Cornerstone does background checks and checks out, and lo and behold, they sign on. And they sign on for I think maybe 3 months, if memory serves me correctly. And I'm repeating this story because this story is so old and so long ago, but I think it's important for people to understand the setup, right? And so anyway, so Cornerstone vets them. They sign a deal with Cornerstone. They sign a deal with Cornerstone, and so based on how I understand Cornerstone to work, right? Just based on what I understand how they work, right? Just based on what I understand in terms of how Cornerstone work. Number one, they have a multitude of clients. They lobby in so many different arenas, and they take on so many clients. And so Cornerstone, they signed the deal with these guys, and the way I understand Cornerstone to work is that they look at the client, they look at the client's interest, and then they look at their staff, and they determine which staff person best suits the client. So it's not like they go any, mini, miny, mo, and it's not like they have a regular rotation, right? They honestly evaluate the client's needs, and they match the client's need with the staff person that they feel could produce the best results for the client, right? That's what they do. So they match the staff person, and I'll let that person remain nameless right now. So they match the client with the staff person. They introduce, they meet, go to lunch, and I'm just saying go to lunch, whatever. They get to know each other, right? Exactly. They match up for best results. So they did all of that. So they get to know each other, and effective lobbyists, right? RJ3, my man. So effective lobbyists are able to ascertain a client's needs. An effective lobbyist is able to match a client's needs with a plan of action to yield results. So based on what I understand, and let me tell you this, and so they do the business part and they do the social part. So it's important to understand that, right? So if I'm the client, you're the firm, you wine, you dine, you take me out, we do all of those things, and that's per business. I got a friend who gets paid top dollar. Thank you, man. I'm glad to be back. I have a friend who gets paid top dollar. He does not work for Cornerstone, but I have a friend who gets paid top dollar to do nothing but wine, dine, entertain clients. And I'm thinking, how can I be down? How can I have that gig, right? Right? No, Cornelius, don't talk about no palms getting grazed right now, because ain't none of that happening in this space. No, sir. No revolve. And so that's why I thought it was important that I offer you the proper context so that we won't misjudge, we won't mischaracterize, because there's no greasing of palms in this space. Stay with me. That comes later, but not in this space. And let me just put a paperclip there and say this. That's part of our problem as people, right? We assume too much and we don't know what we're talking about, right? We assume too much and we're clueless in terms of what we're talking about, because there's no greasing of palms, not in this space. So I want to be very clear, before we start passing judgment. And there's plenty of judgment to go around because some folk are going to jail. If we're honest, there's some folk going to jail. So just let me set the story up. And if you want to make a comment about what I'm saying, that's one thing, but no assumptions right now, right? Because there's no greasing of palms, not yet. That's to come. Trust me when I tell you. So, because I want to be abundantly clear. I want to be abundantly clear. The lobbying firm did no wrong. The lobbying firm followed every protocol to a T. Took on the client, matched the client with the staffer, and the relationship began. So no greasing of palms in this space. I want to be very clear, right? Because far too often we make these assumptions and we just say all of these things and we repeat all of these things. We don't know what the hell we're talking about. All right. So I want to be clear. All right. So they form the relationship. They start doing, business. Client says, I want to do business in the city of Jackson. Who do I need to talk to in the city of Jackson? Can you, arrange opportunities for me to meet, the administration, at the city of Jackson? And there was a former person, staff person, at the city of Jackson. He's no longer there. There's a former staff person at the city of Jackson who wanted his palms greased and said that, you got to come through me to get to the mayor or to get to anybody in this administration. Cornerstone says, we are a large lobbying firm. We are a credible lobbying firm, right? We don't need you. We don't have to go through you. We have our own relationships. I don't need you to get me a meeting with the mayor, right? I don't need you to do that. I don't need you to get me a meeting with anybody in this administration. Our work speaks for itself. We are a Fortune 500 company. They didn't say they were a Fortune 500 company, but they said, we are legit. We're credible. This is our lane. This is the work that we do. This is the work that we do. We don't need you. That person is no longer there. Not saying that that's why that person is gone, but that person is gone. Anyway, Cornerstone, these FBI agents, aka clients, they continue, set up meetings, do meetings. And like I said, they also do business and they do social. So the client says, I want to go to a cigar shop downtown. Or I like cigars, right? I like smokes. I like cigars. Can you recommend? I don't know if they said they wanted to go to a cigar shop downtown. Let me take that up. In as much as they said, we like cigars. We like to smoke. Can you recommend a place for us to go? Staffer at Cornerstone have relationships with folk that own cigar shops, picks up the phone, calls a person affiliated with the downtown cigar shop, says, I got clients in town. Just want you to be aware that my clients are here. They're going to roll through cigar shop, smoke a couple of sticks, have a good time, whatever. That's legitimate business. That's legitimate business. They were doing that for a cigar is the exact equivalent to him or her taking them to lunch. What's a good place to go to lunch, right? Let's go to a nice restaurant. What's a good place to go to lunch? And so, so here we go. We like cigars. We're going to smoke a couple of sticks. Can you make recommendations to for a cigar shop? Recommends the downtown cigar shop. Staffer at Cornerstone calls their connect. Got clients coming through. Smoke a couple of sticks. Have a good time. Want you to know, they meet. They meet. Cornerstone folk called the downtown cigar shop. So, folk, who did they call? Who did they talk to? Anybody want to guess that? You already know, right? You already know, right? So Cornerstone calls Jody Owens. Jody owns a cigar shop. I got a client coming through. They want to smoke some sticks. Fine, legit, right. Interact. So fast forward from that, I can tell you what happened. Except for we later find out, right? We later find out that, well, let me say this before that. So the contract ends with Cornerstone. I think they signed a 3-month contract or something. Contract ends with Cornerstone. I think they signed like a 3-month contract. It ends, right? So I don't know the interaction between the alleged clients and Jody. I don't know any of that. I'm not going to speculate on what was said. Don't know any of that. Here's what we do know, and here's where we are. We all learn at the end, in terms of where we are now, that those potential clients were not clients at all. They were not developers at all. We learned that they were FBI agents. So it's very clear. It's important for me to say that the lobbying firm Cornerstone did nothing wrong. Nothing. Did nothing wrong. Followed protocol. Followed all of the measures that they would follow for any client that comes into their office seeking work. All right? Did everything that they know to do, did it right, followed protocol. So no greasing of palms there. Again, I can't tell you conversations that those FBI agents had with anybody because I wasn't there. I wasn't privy to them. We all collectively find out that there were FBI agents pretending to want to develop a hotel connected to the convention center. We all collectively together found out that Jody Owens, right, formed a company, right? Formed a company with the young man whose indictment was unsealed today, Marve Smith. So Jody and this guy forms a company. And here we are. Here we are. So I'm going to read you just a little bit about what happened today and then break a couple of other things down. So I thought it was important that I give you, a run through. So, before this happened today. So we are all familiar with what happened with former councilperson Angelique Lee in this same space. Grace Haggis, I'm wondering what had the feds conducted this investigation in the first place? And that's a good question, though it's speculative at best on my end and on most of our ends. Here's what I can tell you what usually happens, and that is they are usually given a very strong tip in terms of where they should go, in terms of what they should be looking for, who they should be looking at. So they're usually given a tip. I don't know how they were tipped off about the vulnerability of the players. I don't know how they were tipped off about the vulnerability of all of the players. At any rate, today was number two. A few months ago, number one was Angelique Lee, and I got to tell you that I feel um, incredibly um, bad and sad for her. Uh, and 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 to Dr. J is producer of my show. We're going to introduce her a little later. But Dr. J, that 8:30 client, we're not going to get to them. If you could let him know, we're not going to get to him at 8:30. I'll talk about the War II race, on the tail end of this. So tell him I apologize. But so I feel bad for um, Angelique. I feel really bad. She'll have to deal with the consequences of the decision that she made. But she alleges, a setup, and bribery. So she was the first one. Let's fast forward to today. We'll break that one down and break down a little bit more. But let's get to today's news. So. This is all a part of the federal investigation of the Hinds County District Attorney Jody Owens and Jackson Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba. Today, Marve Smith waived indictment to a charge of conspiracy to commit bribery in United States District Court. And actually, it happened on yesterday, was unsealed today. The Bill of Information states that Smith, an unindicted co-conspirator A, intended to pay cash and campaign contributions to unindicted co-conspirators B and C in exchange for B and C committing official acts in their roles as elected officials in the city of Jackson. The bill states, specifically, unindicted co-conspirator B agreed to vote in favor of the real estate development project proposed by individual 1 and individual 2, and to approve the moving of a deadline to benefit individual 1 and individual 2's real estate development project. Unindicted co-conspirator C directed 1 or more City of Jackson employees to move a deadline in favor of individual 1 and individual 2's real estate development project. Let's do reason of deduction. We can say individuals 1 and individual 2 are the FBI agents. That's common sense. That's common sense. Here's the way I associate it, and here's the way I connect it and break it down. I believe that the unindicted co-conspirator A is Jody Owens. My belief. I believe that unindicted co-conspirator B is Aaron Banks. My belief. I believe that unindicted co-conspirator C is Chokwe Antar Lumumba. That's my belief. That's my belief. So what I'm going to do is read this and insert some names. All right? Now that's my belief. Again, my belief is unindicted co-conspirator A is Jody Owens. Unindicted co-conspirator B is Aaron Banks. And unindicted co-conspirator C is Chokwe Antar Lumumba. My belief. My personal belief. I have no proof of nothing. It's just my belief. Right? A few things are said about unindicted co-conspirator C in the Bill of Information. So JRA, the Jackson Redevelopment Authority, issued a request for proposals for a convention center hotel project in September of 2023. Then they withdrew it. When they withdrew it, City of Jackson then issued a statement of qualification, or an SOQ, statement of qualification, in January of 2024. Earlier, I told you that Jody Owens and Marvin Smith formed a company. That company is called Facility Solutions Team, LLC. All right? That company responded to the SOQ. Statement of qualifications. All right? Y'all with me? Thumbs up if you're with me, right? Thumbs up. Remember, they did an RFP, a request for a proposal. They pulled it back. Then they issued a statement of qualifications. Okay? All right. Now, it's my belief that unindicted co-conspirator C is Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba. That's my belief. Some of you say C could be anybody in its administration. However, the bill makes it clear C can only be one person. Now, I'm going to insert the names as I read this. Smith and Jody Owens coordinated the time, place, manner, and means of payments and favors from the two FBI agents to Aaron Banks and Chokwe Antar Lumumba. Smith and Owens funneled a payment to Lumumba's re-election campaign through a bank account owned or controlled by Owens and through a bank account owned or controlled by Smith, in part to conceal that the FBI agents were the true source of those payments. In March and April of 24, Smith and Owens offered and transmitted the following payments and benefits from the two FBI agents, understanding they were intended as bribes to Banks and Lumumba in exchange for Banks's future vote or votes in favor of the two FBI agents' proposed real estate development project in the city of Jackson, and in exchange for Lumumba's direction to one or more city employees to move a deadline in favor of the real estate development. Only the mayor can direct JRA to change a deadline. The council can. Now, somebody on the mayor's staff could, but it would have to be under his direction. All right? I'm just saying. A $10,000 cash payment from the two FBI agents to unindicted co-conspirator B, who we've identified as Banks, protective services for unidentified co-conspirator B, who we have identified as Banks. And this is just me. This is just my train of thought. This is just me. I have no proof that these are the individuals. I want to say that to be clear. This is just my way of thinking by process and reasonable deduction. An employment opportunity for a family member of unindicted co-conspirator B. Banks' daughter works for Jody Owens. I'm just telling you. And a $10,000 check from Smith to unindicted co-conspirator C's re-election committee, and we've identified in my mind that C is Lumumba. Re-election committee using funds from the two FBI agents after those funds had been routed through an account belonging to unindicted co-conspirator A, whom I believe is Jody Owens. The Bill of Information requires Smith to forfeit $20,000 to the federal government. The maximum penalty is 5 years in prison and or a $250,000 fine. The case is assigned to United States District Judge Daniel Jordan III and Magistrate Lakeisha Isaac. Attorney Ed Blackman represent the defendant, and so they were in court yesterday and it was unsealed today. That's where I think we are. Those are the players I think that we are dealing with. My belief. I have no documented proof. A could be Jimmy Housecat. B could be your mama. And C could be me. I don't know. But the way my brain is set up, this is what I believe. This is where we are. And I can, we can go on and on and on. But I'm gonna tell you something. We can go on and on and on. We can go on and on and on. But my God, there are tapes, there are conversations of folk calling to redirect votes, redirect timelines, to push deadlines back. They have tapes, they have recordings, they have all of this stuff. And my God, this is just the beginning. I believe Angelique is just a small fish in a very large pond. Right? I believe Marve. And get this, it's my understanding, I didn't know this until recently. Get this, it's my understanding, and I didn't know this until recently, that Marve and Jody are related. I just learned that during all of this. I didn't know that prior to. I just learned during all of this. I did not know that, prior to. Didn't know prior to. Hell, I would be singing too if it was me. I'm just saying. But I believe, Angelique, and I really feel sorry for it, because I'm gonna tell you something, man. Life be lifing, and I'm not making an excuse at all. I'm not making an excuse at all, because at the end of the day, we're all held accountable for our own actions, right? And so no excuse maker, but life be lifing, man. And they're so telling, we can all say what we wouldn't do. We can all say what we wouldn't do. We can all say what we wouldn't do, but that's just Monday morning quarterbacking. We can all say what we wouldn't do until we are in that situation. I'm with you, Sister Shelby. I'm right there. I'm with you. But I believe Angelique is just small potatoes. And I believe they're plucking the small ones one by one. I believe they're plucking the small ones one by one to get to the good stuff or the big fish, to get to the good stuff, the big fish. And I believe that this thing is bigger than what anybody wants to let on to, that anybody wants to give credit to. I think that this thing is bigger than that. I believe Angelique small potatoes. I believe they're plucking the small potatoes out of the way, one by one, getting them out of the way. Angelique is definitely still my girl. No love lost for me. And again, I say, life be life. And we can easily sit back in judgment and say, oh, I would never. Oh, I would never. And at the end of the day, she still has to give account because she made the ultimate decision, right? But I'm just saying, life be life in Maine. But this is small potatoes. The big stuff is yet to come. And I know you're like me. You're hearing the rumors, right? You're hearing the rumors. You're sitting back on eggshells, waiting, watching, wondering. Some of us hoping. I don't wish bad upon anybody involved in this stuff. I don't. And that's my honest, fervent position. I don't wish bad on anybody in this. But here's what I hope for. And if I'm honest, if I'm honest, if I'm honest, if I'm honest, here's what I hope for. Hear me out. If I'm honest, man, I want better for Jackson. I want better for Jackson. We deserve better than where we are. We deserve better than where we are. We deserve better than what we're getting. I want better for Jackson. We need to hit the reset button in this town, man. We need to hit the reset button in Jackson. I want better for Jackson. We deserve better. We deserve better. And let me tell you something, folks. Let me tell you something. Because we deserve better, we've got to vote better. And that's on us. That's on us. We deserve better. We got to vote better. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. And Greg, I think racism is real, no doubt. And I know where you're going, but let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell you something. And y'all can cancel me if you want, but let me tell you something. Racism has nothing to do with this situation. We did this to ourselves. Racism has nothing to do with this. Nothing. Unless you call greed racism, unless you call corruption racism, unless you call ego tripping, power hungry sapsuckers racism, that's the racism. That's the racism. We deserve better than what we're getting. So if you want to call corruption, if you want to call greed, if you want to call money hungry individuals racism, then I'm with you. Because that's the racism we're dealing with here. Folk, I don't wish ill or harm to any of those involved in this situation. What I do desire, what I do wish for, is a better Jackson. It's a better Jackson. That's on us. That's on us. That's on us. That's on us. There are 150 some thousand people in the city of Jackson. How can somebody get less than 20,000 votes, really get less than 15,000 votes and be mayor? That makes no sense to me. That makes no sense to me. There are 150 something thousand people, and that's the decline in Jackson. How can somebody become mayor with less than 15,000 votes? That makes no sense to me. That's on us. That's our problem. And until we fix that, this conversation and all conversations are for naught. Y'all want to gossip. Y'all want to gossip about all these indictments and all of that. And more indictments are coming. Y'all want to gossip about that. And I get it, that's the juice. But the real gossip should be about the fact that we're not voting, that we're not going to the polls. You want to flex? That's the real flex. Show up at the voting booth. That's the real flex. You want to flex? Flex with your vote. Flex with your vote. Because guess what? Even if unindicted co-conspirators see who I believe is the mayor gets indicted, he can still run. He can still run. So let your vote be your flex. Let your vote be your gossip. Gossip all the way to the polls. Gossip all the way to the polls. Let your vote be your gossip. Let your vote be your flex. Hell, we have a president that's been indicted 34 counts. And he's running. What makes you think that unindicted co-conspirator C, whom I believe is the mayor, can't run? Right? So if a convicted felon can run for president, surely an indicted co-conspirator C can run for mayor. I just want a better Jackson. I just want a better Jackson. Right? Justice says out of the 150,000, wonder how many are rich. Too many, far too many to name. Rashad, I hate you. Rashad said, I'm C, it's me. I hate you, man. I absolutely detest you. Right? Far too many to name. And so honestly, and as much as that was a joke, and I get it, we've got to vote. We've got to vote. We can fix this. We can get out of this mess. And we've got to stop letting our vote and folk running and seeking our vote become a popularity contest, right? And I'm still going to say this, and I know he's on, and I'm not saying it because he's on, but I'm just reminded to say it since he's on. You know, and I think somebody made a post. When was the last time we had a scandal-free something? And I think Rashad, you may have said that. But you know, let me just say this. Let me just say this. Let me just say this. We've got to stop thinking that there's a perfect candidate out there. Because there isn't. There isn't a perfect candidate out there. Now, if Jesus was on the ballot, okay. So we got to get out of that mindset that a person has to be perfect to run for office. I think we got to toss that out the window, right? We got to toss that out of the window. We got to get out of that mindset that we have to have a perfect candidate. Because there is no such person out there. So we got to toss that out, right? What we got to do, in my mind, is that we've got to align our personal values with somebody who we think match or can meet some, not necessarily most, some. What do we care about? What's important? What are our values? Right? A candidate don't have to, Jackie, that's a good point. A candidate should have to walk on water to get your vote because there's no perfect candidate out there. But what we got to try to do is figure out a consensus. How do we get behind the best person? Hell, a truck driver ended up being the top Democratic nominee for governor of Mississippi, for crying out loud. For crying out loud. You remember that? A truck driver for governor. Right? So we got to get out of the mindset that a candidate has to be perfect because there's no perfect person out there. Newsflash, no perfect person. But we got to find somebody that can match or meet some of our interests. Right? Come on now. We got to get it together. So let me tell you, Right, Jackson said he didn't even vote for himself, and he was the top Democratic nominee. Come on, man. We need change in Jackson. We need change in Jackson. That's on us. That's on us. That's on us. That's on us. We need change. All right? That's on us. That's on us. That's on us. Y'all, more indictments are coming. And I didn't even get through half of what I wanted to talk to y'all about as it relates to what happened yesterday and today. I didn't even get through half of that. And we're already at an hour. More is coming. Bigger is coming. Brace yourselves. There's a hell of a lot more still to come. These are small potatoes. These are small fish right now in a big, gigantic pond. And I'm going to say this again. That's just my belief who A, B, and C are. That's me. That's my belief. I didn't even get through half of this stuff, and we're already at an hour. And I don't want to keep you longer than an hour. But my friends, we've got to do better. And as much as this and these indictments and all of this stuff is bad, it's horrible, horrible. In as much as it's horrible, we play a part. We play a part. I also believe, and I'm going to get out of here, I also believe that they're connecting this garbage situation with this convention center hotel stuff. I think they're pulling all of that together. And citizens, let me tell you something, and then I'm going. Oh, Elisa, you must have come on. Lisa Patrick, you must have come on late. I believe unindicted co-conspirator A is Jody Owens. I believe unindicted co-conspirator B is Aaron Banks. And I believe unindicted co-conspirator C is Chokwe and Tara Lumumba. Just my personal belief. No scientific proof, but just my belief. No, you good, baby. Just my belief. Say this and I'll get out of here because it's 9 o'clock. I believe they're connecting the garbage contract with this convention center hotel as well. And I think that they're building the case. Folk, you can rest assured when the FBI come a-knocking, they already have what they want and they have what they need, right? So, grand juries are being convened more so lately than before. Trust and believe, though, when the FBI come a-knocking, they already know who they want, right? They already know who they want. And they already have the information that they need. They're very strategic. They're very intentional. They're very deliberate. We have a role to play. And no, every word came out your mouth. Right, Yarber, right. We have a role to play. And I was going to say something else about you, Yarber. Time got away, but I'm going to pick back up on it because you triggered several thoughts when I saw you sign on, brother. Please know this, folks. I think this is my third closed Baptist preacher. Please know this. We have a role to play in this. I want a better Jackson. I want a better Jackson. We deserve a better Jackson. What does that mean, Othor? We've got to vote better. Have a good night, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Sorry I didn't get to my other topics. Supposed to talk about War II. There's an election next week, next Tuesday. And Marcus Cheatham he signed on, Mike checked and all of that. And we were supposed to interview him and we didn't. And I apologize um, for that. I apologize, Brother Marcus. War II election is next Tuesday. Marcus Cheatham is running and he is the only one of the two candidates that agreed to come on with me. And brother, I appreciate that. And I don't take that lightly. War II election is Tuesday of next week. Go vote, good people. That's all I got. Thank you so much. 5:30 will be here before you know it. So I got to hit it in the morning. All right. Have a great night. Love you a lot. Vote better. All right, good folk.